Hey, 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 good afternoon, guys. We're back again with the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, the North Texas chapter, and we got an exciting topic today. And got an exciting guest, Mr. Billy Fields, and we got the long liners, Rhonda Hutchinson, with us as well. And, you're just going to have an impactful, day in store because, we have Billy. I want Billy. He's one of my fraternity brothers as well. And the thing is, we have dialogues and we talk all the time about different things. And he has some creative ways of, home ownership and financial wealth that sometimes we might have not have discussed on this show before. And that's our goal. Anytime we bring somebody on, we want to make sure we're trying to bring value. And we don't try to bring people who are always like-minded with us. We want to bring sometimes people who have a different perspective and help us to grow as well. And that's our whole goal when we're trying to do things of that magnitude. And with that being said, what we're going to do like we always do, we're going to start off the show with a prayer, and I'm going to let Miss Rhonda pray us in.
Okay. Bow your head, please. Father God, we first want to just say thank you. Just thank you for this day, just allowing us to be here in your presence on today. And we just thank you for the opportunity to come here once again and to be able to share our knowledge, but not only our knowledge, Mr. Billy, to share what he has for us today in regards to homeownership and financial wealth. And Lord, we just ask to bless him with whatever the topic he's going to talk about it. Let it be clear, precise, and given to the audience in a clear, precise way, Lord. And we just want to thank you in advance. Bless the hearers, the viewers, everyone that's within our power, Lord. We just ask you to bless them, continue to bless them. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Like we said, creative ways to home ownership, pathways to financial wealth as well. And I'm going to first introduce myself. I'm Chris Ziegler with the Ziegler Agency All-State located in Frisco, Texas, serving the DFW Metroplex and the whole state of Texas, where I believe in consultation and what, Rhonda?
Consultation and communication. No.
Exactly. and better yet, even education. And the thing is, like, so my goal is to make sure that I help anybody that's out there that needs help with the homeowner ownership, with insurance, whether it be car or anything, because all those things play a part in what goes on a day-to-day basis with your finances. And I do financial products as well. From your life insurance, your 401k, all these things are interlinked. And people say, well, what does that have to do with home ownership? It has a lot to do with home ownership because that could be one of the means that you have to actually get to home ownership with your
Trust me.
financial products as well. And then you want to maintain those things as well, also by making sure that you have the right insurance, because sometimes you don't want to dip into your resources if you don't have the proper home ownership and proper insurance. And that's what I'm here for, to educate and consultate with you to make sure that you have all the things that you need from that standpoint. So I'm excited to pass over to the long liners, Miss Rhonda Hutchinson with PRMG. Go ahead, Mama, take it away.
Oh, hello there, audience. Yes, my name is Rhonda Hutchison, and I'm known as the Lone Lioness. And I roar with power and passion. And I'm very passionate about bridging the gap between renting and home ownership. And I know everybody say that interest rates are going up. Oh my goodness. Yes, they are. But guess what? Rent is as well. So you want to be able to, hey, if I'm going to be struggling, I'm going to struggle on my own, not be able to make someone else rich. But if you have any questions about home ownership, you just want to ask me a question, you want to know what you need to get pre-approved, you want to be prepared for home ownership, even in the future, give me a call at 214-856-3747, and that's 214-856-3747.
And without further ado, like I said, we got Mr. Billy Fields on here with us today. His brother go back a long way. Like I said, he's one of my fraternity brothers. He's a good man, a knowledgeable man. That's one reason I really wanted to have him on the show from that standpoint as well. And Billy can't tell nobody's story better than Billy. So with that being said, Billy, kind of give our listening audience a little background about you and take it away.
Well, first of all, before I say anything, I'd like to thank both of you for making yourself available and allowing me to come onto the show to speak about either my experiences as a financial professional and to share the knowledge and information that either I've learned OJT or either through experience. As stated, my name is Billy Fields. I've been in financial services for more than 30 years. The name of my company is the Fields Company, so Fields Corporation. Out of that, we're fix and flippers. We wholesalers on real estate contracts, and we do credit restoration, credit financing. I have a team of about 8 staff people. Some are working daily with me. A couple of them are contract on different assignments that we take on. We also work in harmony with title companies where we have a team of remote notaries that go out and execute signings. Some are local, some are even in other states. And I'm glad to be a part of this event today. I too was a member of NAREB back in the day when I think the leadership was under Fred Blair back maybe.
Oh, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
So
that gets back into the fold again.
Yes, indeed. And that's another reason why I'm so happy to be a guest on the show today. Just a little bit about my corporate experience. I got my teeth cut with Lomas and Nettleton back in the 90s. I worked for them for about 3.5 years. I then moved on to Countrywide. I was the number 51st employee that joined that organization when they moved here from California. I started in default servicing with them, but I went over to government and public affairs. After I got a couple of years of government and public affairs, I moved out into the branch world because I wanted to be a part of what they called House America. Me, Tavius Jones was the first two in Texas to take on that challenge. We opened a branch in Oak Cliff on Illinois. And our goal was to close the homeownership gap between African Americans and the mass markets or Caucasian Americans. We became very successful in a short period of time. I moved on from that branch onto a branch in Highland Park. Talking about the experience being from day to night, because in Oak Cliff, we had to go through 100 people to get one person that was bankable to be able to qualify for a mortgage. Although they put to me at that time, corporate didn't put their what's that old saying? They weren't. I didn't think they were serious enough about granting homeownership opportunities for African Americans because the guidelines were too strict, and change came about after I moved on to the branch in Highland Park. Everybody that came through the door was bankable, and I'm like, what's wrong with that picture? What's the difference between us and them? We've identified some things with some of the major investors in the game, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and we identified some of the things that we don't like to talk about. Credit. That was our biggest problem. Bad credit and no money go hand in hand.
Right.
My argument was, how do we become a part of the school districts nationwide to change the trajectory on the significance of either having good credit or positioning people to not have to leverage their kids' social security number to do something simple as keeping their lights on. And when cell phones came out, that was a nightmare for many of us in the community because we went through every cell phone company before we decided to settle on one. So we had all kinds of stuff on our credit. But needless to say, I joined JP Morgan Chase soon thereafter. Was the vice president over the emerging markets division. We had a huge initiative there. We had a $50 billion initiative to close the homeownership gap between African Americans, Asians, gay and lesbians, immigrants, and the Asian market. That was successful. Then the industry changed. I went on to Wells Fargo, built the same branch, and then I became self-employed. I went into the small balance commercial financing, which we still do today. That business also changed when the whole industry changed. So now this is where I'm at. Glad to be on the show. I'm open for any questions, and I look forward to it.
Oh, wow. You have a plethora, like I say, you have a plethora of experience, and your journey is widespread. So that's impressive.
Thank you. And I'm also proud to say, and I don't want to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but it is.
Pat yourself on the back. It's okay.
I've done 3,229 mortgages in my career.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So you're an expert.
Because it changes. It
does. It
changes daily. I mean, that old stuff that I learned back in the day doesn't even exist anymore.
You want to know what? Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead.
I was just going to, first thing that I thought about, first of all, thanks again, Billy, for just being a part of our show on today. And I'm really happy for you to be here. But once I was listening to you, and the first thing that I thought of, and don't get me, is then what do you think about the new initiative with Bank of America? What's your thoughts on that as far as being able to, do you think it's a crutch, or do you think it would make a difference in the Hispanic and in the African American community?
It depends on what the end goal is. I love Bank of America. I bank with them. I think from what I hear, the negative, and then I'll speak of the positive.
Okay.
The negative is, and which is a cry that I've always concerned myself with, people don't give you something for nothing, especially when it comes down to money. Bank of America is in business to make money.
Period.
Cost of funds that they give out. And they also giving a principal reduction rate, I think of about $10,000, if I'm not mistaken, to first-time home buyers. But my argument, that's all good. My concern would be if you jam them up in one centralized location and say you can only live in the bowels of the ghetto. And if you move out, I don't know the conditions of these mortgages, but I'm sure they have some. If you move out within a certain time frame, you got to pay a portion of this money back. Okay, now take it for what it is. This person already got maybe, I'm going to be nice, not totally prepared to get a home anyway. And what I mean by that, they may not have money saved up. They may have some credit challenges because I think it's a non-credit score driven product. So you're going to put them in a situation possibly to fail anyway. If they've not, if they don't have these practices or disciplines in their life about paying their bills on time. It goes deeper than, okay, now we're taking you from wherever you are to a house. What are they going to do? How they, they may not. And I'm speaking in general because this doesn't apply to everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's why I said it depends on what Bank of America's end goal is. Are they looking for someone to make some payments on these houses for a period of time? They make their money and the consumer is stuck 5 to 7 years from now. He's back in the same position that he was in prior to moving in the house.
Right. And see, Billy, I'm like you when it comes to that. Like I said, I don't know all the ins and outs about the Bank of America program. But not just talking about Bank of America, but sometimes within history over time, we've seen, especially when it comes to people of color, especially Black people, sometimes I call them, do my air quotes, they have pseudo, things that they call themselves trying to help people out, sometimes just to check a box. It was because we know it has been a discrepancy, with homeownership and, Black America, in fact, brown America and for minorities in general. And, one thing that we talk about on this show as well, Billy, is what we've had happen over years. We're actually declining. We're actually in a worse place now, here in the 21st century when it comes to home ownership for Black America than it was back in the 60s. And, like Bill and I always have these discussions. We have all the resources. We have all the different things out there for us to utilize and use. But why are we kind of still taking a, backtrack from that standpoint?
Go
ahead.
Carter G. Woodson wrote a book called Miseducation of the Negro.
Yeah.
We're not really educated properly on how money works and finance.
Absolutely.
So we're just following suit, hoping my uncle used to say betting on the come, right? Ain't nothing gonna happen.
Never come.
Never. That's all it is.
Exactly.
So we lack the knowledge and we don't really understand, again, the financial gain. We still, too many of us are still functioning on the surface. The idea of having something shiny and pretty. The system is designed, though, that if we're not educated on what to do with money, it goes back to where it came from anyway. That's why, I hear my rich friends, I never hear them talk about interest rate. I never hear them talk about saving money. That's middle class and lower economic people. They talk about that. I never heard any of my rich friends talk about buying stock because they don't. That's what middle class think. They don't buy stock because they're saying that if they put stock in, why should they put their money in somebody else's company? They'll rather put it in their company. That's the stock that they buy. And if stock is looking for a major takeover.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that's an interesting point that you put there, Billy. So what kind of things can we do to educate or even get the people, like you said, middle America and, the lower economic social classes? What can we do to kind of get them to that point to where they can have that mindset, or you can kind of have the tools in order to get to that point? Kind of educate us on what they need to do or what we can do to help them get there.
Well, you guys get mad about critical race theory. No one really knows what it is. I mean, we buy into a theory that we have bought into a theory that doesn't work for us. So you have to educate. We have to have schools for our younger generation, even through Kappa League. I'm glad in our Frisco alumni chapter, our Kappa League, these are some of the things that we're going to discuss, and hopefully we can combat some of that. That needs to be a nationwide initiative when it comes down to financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
Our financial literacy, when most of our programs are taught to keep the masses of America where they are, and thinking, and we're settling for crumbs that fall off a table where we can go and make a table of our own.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, too many of us, especially us old cats, I don't, because I want to keep myself in the equation. Black people, not enough of us are willing to work together because we don't trust each other. We would rather Bank of America to rip us off than one of our brothers rip us off. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that hurts. I don't know. When I was in Chase, I could tell you how much money we picked up or collected at the churches on Sunday based on the deposits that were made Monday.
Uh-huh.
And then we go back and ask them for a loan to buy a house or something. They won't even give us a loan. Our church, they justify it by a source that says pay 10%. Those are the theories that we buy into. So the money that we work, our sweat equity on some of these companies that we work for, and which are great companies, we make the money from them. We put it in church Sunday, a portion of it, and then the church put it in the bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all those banks, and they turn around and give it back to them to do developments. I see this every day. It's sickening.
Mm-hmm.
And then
give it to them with interest. Back to them with interest.
Oh, high interest. And good
It
credit.
makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Exactly. So it's all about how we're educated and what we're doing with our money. I think we believe that we're supposed to keep them wealthy. We're not concerned about what goes in our head. We have a good argument about critical race theory, but what I've seen changing on the East Coast, many Black families have decided to homeschool their kids. What I've decided to do, I'll go to a thrift store and every now and then and buy all those books that some of these schools wouldn't allow to be in their library or public school system. I got them. Because at some point, they're going to be of use to someone that look like me. And then again, maybe they'll change and they got to go somewhere to get the material. You got to write some new stuff. Now, there are some media sources. I think Revolt. I think that's Jay-Z station, television station. They do speak of financial literacy. I've not plugged in, but it wouldn't surprise me if they don't have a different curriculum that we grew up on. It's going to be the same. But I do see a lot of younger Black millionaires. Our generation, we don't become millionaires until we're in our mid-50s, if we did some of the right things. The younger generation are becoming millionaires in their 20s and 30s.
You said the key thing too, like you said, giving kudos out to the great Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. But that's one thing, we have to do is start with the youth at a young age, because, the younger you understand about financial literacy and things of that nature, you kind of be indoctrinated and you kind of grow into that realm. I gotta tell people it's never too late, because we still, like Ron and I, and, I work with you, Billy, on different things. Even with people, I'm in my 50s, and you have people who just don't know what they don't know. And that's what we're here for, to kind of educate and guide people in the right direction, because you teach one, you reach one, you teach one, and kind of get them to go in the right direction. And with that being said, not to knock any kind of program that's out there, anything like that, because we have to utilize any tool that we have to try to get into home ownership. But one thing I know, I've been talking a lot about people in the mortgage industry, mortgage lenders and things of that nature, talking about, I'm doing my own pharmaceutical days, payment assistance programs,
Down payment assistance, yes.
Down payment assistance programs, like not to knock that or anything like that, but the way a lot of stuff is set up these days is not geared towards us. And because the state of especially here in North Texas, the state of the home ownership and the pricing of the homes, a lot of those programs don't work. So Billy, I know you've had some ideas on potentially how people can kind of get around that hurdle, or potentially look at some other things in the future. What do you think about that?
It's funny you ask, and I have to approach that with trepidation, because I remember back in the day, we did a home buying seminar with one of the major investors here. And when I spoke, it was time for me to speak. I said to them, well, if you've not done 3 things to become bankable, to get financing to get a home, I respectfully suggest that you leave now. So I turned around, took a sip of water, and hopefully most of those people were gone. Because the reason I said it, I know that was harsh and it was bold, it was preparation. And what I learned, I was fortunate to learn that from one of my mentors, and that was Johnny Cochran. His firm still promotes the 3 Ps: preparation. So I put that in the context of home ownership, i.e., what have you done? Have you saved your money? Have you stored some money? Because I don't use savings. I don't speak those words today, save, because I don't believe in saving money. So have you stored money to prepare yourself to have a down payment? Have you identified with any credit issues that you may have? Have you gone through this process? Where are you? What about your income? Let's have those kind of conversations, because when you have these big seminars, they don't really focus on that. They draw people based on some help, down payment assistance. Some of those programs are good, but I think it's too risky to sell an initiative or get people to buy into what we call an American dream, that some now call an American nightmare, called homeownership, based on, oh, you can get in this house down payment assistance. Because what those programs do, a lot of those initiatives, they attract people that don't have the financial bench strength to cover a mortgage payment in the Metroplex anyway. Many of them that I witnessed were either on Social Security income, where they may have $1,200 a month income. Now, where are they going to be able to stay for $1,200 when the back end, the ratio guidelines on an FHA, I think today is 57%. Back in the day, it was 41%. So where are they going to stay on a Social Security income at $1,200 a month? They don't qualify, but their audit record is full of them. So that's why I challenge the banking system. If you're going to reach out and try to, I'm trying to find a clean word. Play around with my people. You need to come fluid. Okay, if not, we're going to expose you. Don't do that. Down payment assistance is good for those that need it, but it shouldn't be the end all to get people to buy into what you call American dream, because for us, it could be an American nightmare.
Yeah. And you know what, Billy? Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll remember. Trust me.
What?
Oh, okay. What I was going to say, because one thing that got my antennas up when you said you don't believe in saving. Oh, okay. So what's the alternative? Share with us. What do you mean by that statement? Okay, if you're not saving, then what are you doing?
Well, saving money to do what? They're printing money every day.
Yeah.
So why save it? Right. It's our American dollar is not worth it's not worth anything today.
The paper is printed on.
Huh?
That's what the paper is printed on.
Right. You got some young rappers or entertainers, they get paid in other money from other countries.
Bitcoin.
They don't want the US dollar because it's not worth anything.
So
I believe in storing money to do something.
Explain that.
Okay.
Explain that.
I'm glad you asked.
And I want to listen, and I want to know.
Okay, let's say if you're trying to, in this mindset that I have today, I only look at 3, because I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years on the stock market. So I don't fool with stock anymore. Because like I said earlier, none of my wealthy friends are talking about buying stock. So I'm like, why am I tripping? Right? So I'm going to store money. I'm looking to buy an asset. We have to understand the difference between the assets.
That's what I want to
buy an asset that's going to bring me money that ultimately position me to create cash flow. We used to say cash is king. I say cash flow is king. That's what you do with your money. That way you don't have to worry about if the company gonna lay you off, or I gotta go work on a job that I do not like, or I gotta go work for a company that treat my people like they're dogs, savages, beasts. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, it's a mind shift. I just see it different. So for an example, I'm a real estate investor. Okay, I buy a house low, and I can rehab it and sell it for market rate. What am I going to do with that money? Let's say I made $100,000 on that money. Am I supposed to go Cadillac it, go buy a bigger house, go front and floss? I want to minimize my tax rate. I'm tired of paying 40% on money for taxes, but I don't look for no income tax check. I don't remember the last time I got one. And when I did get one, I was sharing it with one of my good friends. You guys may know him, Harold Carter.
Yeah, Mr. Harold Carter, yes. Mr. C, Mr. C.
I was like, man, if you get an income tax check, no, he said, if I got an income tax check, it made me feel like I didn't make enough money the year before. So to hear him say that to me 20 years ago, all these people, like I said, I've been blessed to have good people in my space, and I see how they function. Sitting around waiting for an income tax check, why do I have to do that? And I worked the whole year. That doesn't even make sense to me. So now, once I became enlightened, saving money where the bank is going to only pay me 2 or 3%, where I can buy a house and flip it and make more than what some people make in a year in 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't Cadillac the money, put that back in real estate, because it's you can take the depreciation of that house or those apartment complexes you poured your money into and pay minimal tax. I don't have a job. I'm self-employed, so why should I pay taxes? I got staff, people that work for me.
Hey,
I'm
Billy.
Job opportunity.
Now, Billy, I hear you keep telling all these people you work with. Somebody told me you got an awesome insurance agent. Who's your insurance agent?
Hey, the one and only Chris.
He can't be on this. He can't be on this call.
He's the best.
But hey, I got 2 smart people on this call. So I got 2 smart people on this call.
That's right, because he's my agent as well.
And the beauty of it is, why should I call someone else?
But this is why I'm all joking aside, though. What I like about Billy and Ron as well, but even with Billy, he understands the dynamics when he does the flipping of the homes and doing different things like that too. Because once again, people always say, I say insurance companies or insurance agents are the bastard child of the, whether it be the real estate investment, whether it be home buying. In fact, that's what Billy called me. We had sat down, we talked, consulted about different things, about making sure that he had the right, type of insurance, because he was smart enough to realize. A lot of people don't even realize that, because I have some people I've had to educate who do real estate investment and have the wrong insurance policy, because it depends on what you're trying to do. Sometimes you might need to do what we call builder's risk insurance. That's sometimes when you're trying to, rehab a home or do something like that. Or sometimes even like Billy kind of gets them and sells them and things like that, which is cool. However, you got some people who want to hold on to those properties. And then sometimes you have to start off with a builder's risk. This means when it's kind of under construction or you're doing the rehab and stuff like that. And then you have to roll it over to we call a landlord policy if you're going to have a renter in there. And that's one thing I would like to really educate and talk to people about too, because if you don't have the right insurance for the coverage and exposure that you have, it's a possibility you might not, something goes wrong, you might not be covered. And that's one thing me and with Billy talk about, because he actually does a thing called Wind Down Wednesdays we do every now and then. He does, which is awesome. And these are kind of conversations we have. It's kind of like a little think tank. We kind of have fun, kind of cut up, like talk what we talk about like now and everything. And then what we do is kind of just throw out different things, because like I tell people, some of my fraternity brothers, they call me low tech, but they tease me, but I learn a lot from them about trying to learn about technology and different things of that magnitude. It's huge because, like Billy said, we talked about like little young cats. In fact, one of us, his nephew, that was on it, was kind of educating us about that, Bitcoin, and which we've talked about here on the show as well, and the metaverse. And like I tell people, like I said, you have some young people with wisdom, you have some old fools, because people say, with age comes wisdom. Not necessarily. You got some of these young folks who, in fact, like some people I know, I have relatives, younger relatives, who are doing their doggone thing, like Billy said, at a young age in their 20s, where it took me probably in my late 30s to 40s to get to, So don't sleep. Hey, the Gen X, all Z's, X, Y's, whatever, all those alphabets for all these, millennials, what have you. A lot of times you need to reach out to them sometimes too, because they can help catapult you to the next level as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great information, guys. I'm really, really, really enjoying this. And Billy, you're on the point when it comes to down payment assistance, because actually there's some great programs. I can just say that, of course, like we have the T-Shack and the TDHCA, but they can also be a crutch. And especially if you're not financially prepared you don't have any money saved, because let's be honest, with majority of the down payment assistance clients that are coming with that requesting down payment assistance don't have any money saved. So that down payment assistance funds that you're getting may get you in that home, but it's not going to keep you there.
Right.
And sometimes we're setting clients up as lenders for failure when we're doing what we can to get them in the home, but the bar is not prepared to stay. So I think that's where the education comes in as well as on the back end. You get into those homes, what do you need? You know, we prepare to get in them. We want them to be prepared, save, budget, invest, but also what do you need to do to stay in those homes? Because I think that's an important fact as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Billy, got some people on here giving you shout outs on Facebook. Madge, you know Madge? Madge said, "What's up?" So
Next day.
Madge,
What's
Madge, there's a couple of people on here saying, "Tell you what's up." They said, "Preach it," you know. And once again, like I said, that's why we wanted to have you on here, because we know your thought process. Although it's similar, you do have, like I said, once again, we say creative ways of, to get into the means to an end. Like so, we kind of discuss them a little bit, on the show, here and there, but sometimes, like we said, the audience we have sometimes, it's diverse and everything, but some of the people that, when we come to NAREB, we are really trying to help out those people. Sometimes, I'm not going to say necessarily always on the lower socioeconomic side, but to even educating people too, because you got a lot of people, once again, like you say, here in Collin County, Denton County area, who are doing extremely well and still don't understand how to, navigate through the finances. And like, once again, that's what we're here for, to have these discussions, because sometimes they do have the resources, like Billy says, but don't know how to allocate them or put them in the right direction in order to make them, their finances or their assets work for them. And that's what's huge.
Well, let me ask you this, Billy. Investing, and that's one of the things that I'm just want to say that's one of the things that I'm learning to jump on board, getting rid of these 401ks that you have. Go ahead and give us some creative, and Chris may share this as well as maybe some other options to get away from your 401ks. And I know there's some whole life insurance policies that you can actually have a life insurance, but also use as a savings where you can invest in those things. And I know there's self-directed IRAs. Just share some of your knowledge and maybe some other alternatives that we can grab a hold to get away from these 401ks when we're losing all our money in the stock market.
I'm laughing because you're saying some words that made me cringe and also made me think at the same time. I'll say this with no disrespect. I want to qualify what pops out of my mouth.
Hey, when they say no disrespect, you know what that means.
As long as you don't curse, you good.
No, I hope to think my intellect will help me to find a better choice of words than to use foul language. Now, I am a licensed agent. I hate insurance. Because with no disrespect, Chris, don't take this the wrong way. That's a game too. You see what I'm saying?
Educator.
Yeah.
Preach.
I'll say you own the car, but you got to have a certain amount of coverage on your car because you might go out and do something real bad to somebody and just kill them and tear their stuff up. I get that. But if you never use your insurance for 20 years and then you have an accident, you just tap a whole Bentley, right? $200,000 car, your car's worth $2,000. You got to pay. Your insurance is going to start going up. And it goes up and up and up and up like everything else. No disrespect, Chris. And that's the game. Right? So where do you win? Some people are scared to file a claim on their insurance.
Yeah, it's gonna go up $3.
Yeah. So Chris, he like it.
No.
They don't even want claims. And that's not so bad. That's just the game. As long as you understand the game and the rules, you know how to play. I'll make better decisions about this stuff. Now, I typically, you asked a few questions about savings and how to prepare. I followed this method when I repositioned or changed my gyroscope when it came down to business, my thought process, and things that I do. I started living on what I call the 40-40-20 rule. Okay. I live 20% of my income.
I got my pen.
I got you. And it's hard. It's hard. 20% of my income. 40% in taxes. Okay. And 40% I store to buy.
Store.
Yes.
Not save.
That'll
store.
Save. Okay. Store. And, I'll say this. My kids, I'm blessed to have two beautiful daughters. I paid $600,000 for them to get an education from the age of 3 to 18. Both of them now are pre-med students, right? That's when I learned how the American dollar was, becoming worthless. I began to putting money into gold and silver, precious metals. I was buying gold when it was $290 a spot. That's an ounce. Today, gold is about $1,300 an ounce. When I had my, when I went through the economic downturn from the last housing debacle, I was still able to write a $40,000 check for my kids to go to school, and I didn't even have a job because I stored money in gold. Where I was buying it at $290 a spot, I would buy a pound or two at a time and store it. Precious metals, that's God's money. It was here before us, and it's going to be here after us. And the value is steadily increasing. The same with palladium and all that. Those precious metals were really, really cheap. What's cheap right now, more affordable, is silver. Silver is probably about $18 to $20 a spot. I would rather pour money into that instead of the stock market. That's how I got started with gold. And then I got into real estate. When I started seeing my first house, at my first house, I paid $86,000 for it. The house sold for over $300,000 when I sold. I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. What car or anything else could you put your money in other than real estate or precious metals that's going to bring you those kind of returns? You see what I'm saying? So I had to start though with it was hard living on 20% of my money. 40% taxes, 40% stored to buy assets that brings me money. Now, regardless of whether I go to work or not, if I have cash flow, I don't have the stress that I used to have working for corporate, go get all these people housed and numbers and all that stuff, hiring and firing people and different things like that. I'm out of that rat race. Now my life is more simplified. I don't have a high expense line because I believe some debt is good. I got a house that I ain't never slept in, but it's bringing me money. You see what I'm saying? Chris is the insurance agent. I just signed a contract yesterday on another house. I hadn't even seen the house. But I
ain't got no information about the house needed to write no contract on it either.
Something wrong with that, ain't it?
You say you got another one. I haven't heard about that house yet.
Well, you will, because we have to have a pull-up whenever I can get you to slow down or return my call, because I need to make some adjustments on some of my policies because I want to hold on to a couple of them, right, to do some Airbnbs. I mean, I'm going to miss the Grambling Preview game this weekend, but Texas OU is next weekend. Them people are going to pay $500, $600, $700 a night to live in your place, right? I got to be ready for that kind of stuff. The Olympics is coming here in 2024. What that calculates or means to me, I got out of the consumer side. Oh, I need to go to the games and buy all this stuff and bling, 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 bling. When I hear that kind of stuff, the way my mind works is, okay, how could I get $100,000 out of this? You see what I'm saying? It's not a secret that it's coming to town.
Wow.
Get in the game.
Yeah. You got to know how to maximize it. Exactly. You got to know how to maximize it. And then too, when we talk
I'm doing that with home ownership, with homes. You see what I'm saying? I'm doing it. But the Cowboys played last night. I heard they won. I don't really care because I don't make any money off the Cowboys. That's with no disrespect. I ain't knocking them or nothing. But I've not made one dime on the Cowboys. Maybe I should sit up and figure out how could I do it. But maybe with some Airbnb properties, when people come to town, they can live in my place. You see how I think? Most of us are not thinking that way. We're thinking to have the biggest house to have a Super Bowl party at. That's when it's time for me to go celebrate at their place. I don't care who plays.
See, that's a key point too. And we discussed this, and I'm gonna bring it back up again.
Right.
Talking about tapping into the community, tapping into your local government, your state government, and then understanding the dynamics of what's going on. I mean, it's like here in Frisco. You got the Frisco Economic Development Corporation that's here. Go to the meetings that they have. In fact, one thing is another organization I'm in, the Collin County Chamber of Commerce. We had them come out, and a lot of people don't even know half the stuff that's coming on. To Billy's point, these are the kind of things we need to know about. So a lot of people we don't need to catch it on the back end once it's already done. Let's try to catch it on the front end, so that when stuff is coming, we're already prepared to, make sure. In fact, I'm kind of trying to work with them myself to find out some different things from, from an insurance standpoint and from personal standpoint to try to capitalize. You're not at church. Go ahead. You can talk.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
In these days, we're talking, we're still performing industrial.
Mm-hmm.
We're still trying to beat, with no disrespect, white people at their game. Why don't we create this stuff on our own? Do you realize that Dallas has the potential, maybe Frisco and DeSoto has the potential to have the next Black Wall Street?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll be more successful in DeSoto because most of them down there on the city council look like us, right? So we're trying to fight this game here in Frisco. It's a losing battle. You got some brothers that won a political office by not even advertisement, by putting their face on a billboard and putting a red circle in critical race theory with a line drawn through it. And they won based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too, because I'm big to like you can say no disrespect, but I'm gonna agree to disagree, and that's gonna be my term with you now. I'm gonna agree to disagree. Because somehow here in the Frisco, the Collin County, Prosper, Frisco, Allen McKinney, well, I think we are making some strides, here in the Frisco area, from an African American standpoint, and I think even like with our fraternity, and not just our fraternity, some of the other Divine Nine organizations as well. Kind of getting together, and the NAACP for the Collin County NAACP are doing a lot of things, and what we're trying to do, in fact, have been somewhat successful in some areas of getting some people, once again, who look like us, who are for us. It's a difference. Like I tell people, I joking, but I'm serious at the same time. I said, are you Black or you're a brother and sister? You might be Black in skin. Okay, to this point, to where some people have that thought process. They don't think like us. Although they have the same color skin we have, they don't think like us. And I think that's what's important as well, And not saying we have to be monolithic and be like-minded from that standpoint, but making sure even if we think differently, the goals are the same, of trying to uplift and to forward our race as as a Black people from that standpoint. And I think that's what's critical. Just even with my marriage. Like I tell people, I'm in the marriage ministry in my church. I tell people all the time, as long as you and your spouse might not agree on the direction that you're trying to go. If y'all both trying to get to point A, that's the goal. And you might want to go left, and she might want to go right. But as long as y'all go into the same direction, trying to get to point A, that's fine. But I always tell them, if you're trying to get to point A, they going this way to point, and you're trying to go to point B, y'all going different directions, you're not going to ever get there. You're going to have some problems. Never wrong being, and I think that's what's so unique. And like you, the Billy and I, a lot of times, we have a lot of, as they say, when we keep it clean, robust conversations.
But you want to know what, Billy? I'm on your side on this one with Chris.
Thank you.
And the thing is, but I learned from him, he learns from me, because sometimes, I acquiesce to him. Sometimes once again.
I got something to say, Chris.
Go ahead.
I got something to say.
Go ahead.
And I love this analogy. You drowning. You can be in 10 feet of water, and we're talking about Frisco and the changes that need to be made. Right. You can be in 10 feet of water, or you can be right here, and you got just 2, but you're still drowning. Yeah. And in Frisco, we're still drowning. And there's too much, So
y'all ganging up on me.
Yeah, so we have to recognize there's even in Collin County, let's just say Frisco, but Collin County, there's a lot of changes that need to be made.
Most definitely.
Find a way to get to the table, to be a part of the conversations. Now, whether or not they're going to listen, but you know what? One thing about it, if you scream long enough and hard enough, it can make a difference. But so we're still drowning. We're still drowning.
And you know what? How we sound to the younger generation, they're in their minds, some of them are thinking these Negroes don't know what they doing. Do you know why they think that? That old saying, the more things change, the more things remain.
Yeah.
I've been here for a little while, and I've seen some change, gradual change, but we don't ask for much, really. We're educated to really, if you think about it, step out of our box for a second. We're really educated to serve them.
Oh, you know what? I want, and I don't know if you guys watch Queen Sugar or not, but that's one of my favorite shows. Okay, and they had an episode last week in regards to they wanted to save the historic. I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's a black farm where the farm was in generation from years and years and years. Father died, left the land to the children. Now everybody's trying to come to take the land away from them. Decisions based on decisions that they're making individually and also as a community. And this is a black against white. Let's just be clear.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the councilmen they were trying to vote to see whether or not they were going to leave it as a historic landmark where the burial where there was a burial site, or if they were going to let a project come in. There was a project trying to come through the city to be able to build on that land, and the council and the councilman, or we can say the councilman team, were built a black and white. And then out of all of them, the one black person voted to keep the historical district where they won't disturb the burial. But everybody else that would look like us, black, was persuaded to vote on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
So we're afraid to stand up for what is right because we're afraid of the consequences and the repercussion. That's where the change has to come in. That we're, right here. You're afraid to stand up.
And like I'm sounding like Billy now. I said not to offend anyone. I'm sounding like Billy now, not to offend anyone. But I tell people all the time this all the time. I say this is the 21st century. But I said a lot of us, quite a few of us, I said some of our black folks. I said I still have that slave mentality. And I mean it kind of sounds cruel or whatever, but it's true because I know and we try to do certain things. Different companies I work for, whether it be farmer or any different companies I work for, and we have to speak up when we get in these situations where we have a voice at the table. Case in point, I remember one company I worked for, we had made a determination. You probably heard the story before. I think I told Ron about it. That when we're going to hire the top 5 candidates, and I think Billy heard the story too. Now this happened to me in different companies, and 4 out of the 5 candidates were black. And then sometimes they forget, they get comfortable with it sometimes. I was just sitting back, I didn't say nothing. I just listened to them. They said, okay, what are we going to do? They said 4 of the candidates were black and there's only 1 white person. I sat back and didn't say nothing. But then the E word, epiphany happened. Somebody looks up and like, oh my God, and realize, oh, it's a black guy sitting here with us. And, they start kind of having that, like, hey, over here, Chris is here, And then the only thing I said to him, and this was important what I said, not to, like Billy said, not to pat myself on the back. You have to have somebody who's strong, who's not going to go along to get along. And the first thing I told them, I said, we're not going to do nothing but what we said we're going to start with. And that's what's going to happen. I said, if we don't, we're going to have a problem. And once again, the reason I say that, because I've known those situations where I was at a company where there's this white cat who was a friend of mine. And he said, Chris, I had to speak up for the brothers. What you mean you had to speak up for the brothers? Kind of similar situation. All these white folks were there, 1 black guy. And he just said, he sat there, he said, I didn't know if I should say, I just knew it wasn't right, but I didn't want to step on his toes. Talking about the black guy that was there, I didn't want to step on his toes. I thought he was going to say something rather. He never said anything. So I felt obligated. This white guy said he felt obligated because he felt it was wrong to speak up, And that's kind of sad. You had somebody that looked like us, like once again, in skin, but was getting ready to let something slide and go through. It was going to be detrimental to the people at that company that looked like us because they were afraid to speak up. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Like I said, that's why I said,
that's the change.
It's a change. It's a mindset, and it's learned, it's taught, and things like that. And I guess too, I learned that from my parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents, and sometimes it does start from within the home. But once again, I tell people all the time, just because you might not have grown up that way, kind of to Billy's point earlier, and I think Ronnie, you even mentioned too. That's why you have to look within yourself to find and seek out other ways to better yourself. If you're not in the environment where you think it's going to be conducive for you, it's because you're in an oppressed or depressed state. I mean, you have to stay there. Sometimes you have to work your way out of that and find means and ways to get out of that.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. If you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
So if we don't have a system, if we're taught a system that's not designed for us to benefit that's the system we follow.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I go back to the education. It's beyond
Right.
what the people may know in their households. It's the educational system that we all have to govern ourselves accordingly to get from the first grade to the second, from the second to the third, and
Right.
then beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not teaching us anything, if they're not teaching us anything but to run a football, bounce a basketball, our schools still lack exposure to technology and things that gonna better prepare us to be functional or make a difference in our communities, because we don't focus on our communities. My daughter, freshman year in college, she came home from school. I had a conversation at Thanksgiving. We were talking about gentrification. No, I wasn't talking about. I went to a mass market school. PWI, whatever, predominantly white institution. English, math, and history, state school. I mean, the same stuff, first 2 years you learned in high school. But she's a college freshman talking about gentrification, but she went to an HBCU. Different curriculum. You see what I'm saying? Getting them to understand, hey, this is the communities that some of you come from. Are we going to just hand it over that easily? Or are we going to do something about it? On a freshman collegiate level. So can you imagine if the curriculum was different for our kids when they start out at 3 years old or 5 years old? I think the way our system is designed, our kids start at school at 5, they're 2 years behind.
Right. Well, and then once
Whoa.
again, your manager there as well. That's what we as individuals and collectively as a group as well have to go in and do. Like me personally, and I know you as well. In fact, it's going back to our fraternity. We have we call it a guy right, our Kappa League program. I mean, even before Kappa, I was doing it on my own, but we have a program right now that we do these things. We try to catch these kids at a younger age. Like Billy said, you want to catch them as young as possible, 4 or 5. Those are very informative years right there. But especially when they're in there, we try to get young men with Kappa League starts at 12 years old, I believe, 12 to high school age, to senior high school. And that's what some of the things that we're doing now, because Billy and I were talking about finance. We got some good role models too. You got a lot of people in the organization who are our fraternity brothers who are entrepreneurs, like me and Billy and myself. We're on our businesses, but we have some guys who work for Microsoft, who work for some of these other companies. And the thing was so neat about this is not exclusive to Kappa. I'm sure that other fraternities as well, I know for a fact, have successful people in sororities as well.
We can't tell.
See, they look at you. Watch out now. See, let me get maybe I can cut up on you. But that's the thing, we have to. I think that's the problem too. Is sometimes we, as a people, sometimes think, well, once we made it, that's it. We done. We made it. I got mine. You get yours. My philosophy is this, and I'm going to always be like this. This is my philosophy. This is my belief. I think it's right. If you come up, you need to help some other people, not another person. Help other people come up as well. To teach one, like I said, reach one, teach one, reach a whole bunch, and teach a whole bunch. That's just my philosophy.
But and I would agree with you to a certain extent, Chris. The curriculum is.
You agree to disagree?
Yes, the curriculum is different because you're going to teach them something about stock. I may teach them about becoming a millionaire. I may teach them the difference between a liability and an asset. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So collectively, we're all over the place, and that's one of the things that's keeping us from coming together. When I lived in Carrollton, back in 1993, the street that I lived on was a 2-lane road. Now it's about an 8-lane road. Major development has come in there. I think Shaq got a house over there now. But part of this, down the street from where I live, about a mile, I now call it the Asian ghetto. Which is not a bad term. We look at ghetto as being downtrodden and all that, and this and that. That's college ghettos and everything. But the reason I call it the Asian ghetto is because they have their own bank, they have their own grocery stores, they have their own farms. Everything that they need to service their people is right there in the heart of Carrollton. We're not even thinking like that.
We don't think like that.
You see what I'm saying? So they know and understand. They're not going to college. Many of them may go to college and work for a big firm, but they also understand the fact that they have to serve their people. We're educating our people to serve them. How could they do that if we've been here way longer than that? You got Indians right now. The medical
community.
Right. There's a community I did some work for right off of, I think, 114 or 40.
Oh, Las Colinas. Las
Yes.
Colinas. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And we've been here since the inception of humanity. So it's what we're being taught. We're taught to serve them, and we won't let it go. Even when some of our extra programs that we establish, we're coming in to try to train them to be a good Negro for somebody else. That's what the problem is.
Billy, do you
Yeah.
think going back to strengthen our HBUs is the key?
Yes.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely.
Sending our children back to the HBUs.
Yes. Yes. Deion Sanders has created so much havoc in the HBCU world in a good way. Some of these schools now, where they didn't have a housing problem, has a huge housing problem because everybody's trying to go to school now. They don't have no place to put them. Okay? He's exposing where some of them may have inferior something. He's fixing that through sports and entertainment, exposing them. He's owning their brand. Those guys, I love it. On the back of their jerseys, their names are now there. Some of them have that at sign in their name. If you want to contact them, you Google so-and-so at. You see what I'm saying? Some of these guys are probably getting paid money. I don't know why they're in college. And Deion Sanders is doing an outstanding job with that. And again, it's at an HBCU.
I guess the thing is, I'm a HBCU graduate, a proud HBCU graduate. In my personal opinion, like I said, everybody has a reason, but you do not get the education that you get anywhere else but at HBCU. Like I said, not from an academic standpoint. Like you just said, like we was talking about different things. Most, I'm not saying all, but most HBCU graduates are more equipped to handle white American than kids who go to like you said, a PWI. Because when you go to a PWI, like you said, predominantly white institution, you're with them, you're with them, but you're not of them. So what I mean is you basically there with them, but I've had friends who might have gone to LSU, University of Arkansas, University of Alabama, these different schools. They say it's like, it's a white LSU, then it's a black LSU. It's kind of like it's a black school within the bigger institution of LSU, or any of these PWIs and things of that nature. And sometimes too, they said they felt, in some cases, some people felt like ostracized and didn't feel like they were, being, put in a position, to succeed. Because I remember when I was at Grambling, Flanders College, those schools like that. Sometimes I might have been in the biology class, but sometimes we might spend a whole day talking about things that were prevalent to African Americans. Might even have anything to do with biology, but it was an education within the education that you just want to get. And I'm about to wrap it up here because we have to do our round robin here as well. Because, like Billy was saying, sometimes exposure. When you go to HBCUs, some of these kids come from rural or inner city areas. They have not been exposed to different things. I know when I was at Grambling, they had a class called Etiquette and Personal Development, and then they also had a class called Lyceum. And essentially, what Lyceum was a course where they would bring people in like the Chinese acrobats, the Russian ballet, and you had to dress up. And me, I was exposed to that growing up, and I'm like, what are we doing this for? But then I was with some guys who had been close friends of mine. They said that was the first time they ever put a tie on or put a jacket on or anything of that magnitude. And once again, they had etiquette and personal development to train you. They had a class to teach you how to your place setting, how to interact in a social or business setting or formal setting. But what's kind of ironic and funny now is the fact that if you go to restaurants these days, you notice they don't a lot of times they don't have salad forks or anything like that anymore. Because you know why? We know how to do it. They don't know how to do it now. So anytime they don't know how to do something, that's when
they stop it. They stop it. Yeah.
They stop it. Because I've been Fortune 500, Fortune 100 events and stuff like that, and our Anglo counterparts sometimes don't have a clue, and it's amazing. But things change when you're not the majority, even like words like blame, is in the dictionary now. We've been saying that forever, but once they say it, it becomes. With that, I'm going to acquiesce, and we're going to thank Mr. Billy Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Billy. Great conversation.
Better known as Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill.
You're going to throw us off NAREB now.
Well, I hope I didn't say anything.
No, it was great.
Because that's one thing about us. One thing about us, here, like I said, it's an open mic. You speak your piece, you speak your mind. We keep it 100. We keep it real.
Right. We appreciate it.
Whether I agree with you or not.
Thank you. And
No, I'm
the
just
way I like
kidding.
to say it, Chris, I got my credentials from a white school, but I got my education from a black school. I'm a proud HBCU graduate as well.
Okay, I
So
hear you.
yes, and
Well,
I
I'm a
think,
University of Memphis, so I guess I don't count.
oh well,
But I'm a college graduate. It has to be the University of Memphis.
and it's all good. It's in love because you bring an element of the to the equation, and it's a win-win. You
Yeah.
recognize the fact where the
I know we can talk
the
on and go
collective
on and on and on, but I'm about to go ahead and cut it short. I'm gonna do the round robin.
How rude of you, Chris.
I hate to be rude, but we can talk and chat afterwards. We want to be respectful of people's time. But once again, I'm Chris Ziegler with the Ziegler Agency Allstate, located in Frisco, Texas, serving the DFW Metroplex in the whole state of Texas. And somebody said PV, Prairie View University. but serving the whole Metroplex. And once again, call me at 214-870-4269 for any of your insurance needs, whether it be home, auto, your renter's insurance, financial products, commercial, or your business insurance. Give me a call so I can educate and have a consultation with you and make sure you go in the right direction. Rhonda?
And I'm Rhonda Hutchison. I'm the Loan Lioness doing everything lending. Please give me a call at 214-856-3747. Have any questions, need a pre-approval, just want to speak to me or what I need to do to get started, reach out to me.
And Billy, let everybody know your information, what you want them to know.
And again, I'm Billy Fields. Again, I'm certainly honored to be a part of the show today. Thank you guys again. Thanks to the listening audience. The name of my company is the Fields Corporation. I could be found at 214-607-LOAN, 214-607-LOAN. There we could provide homeownership opportunities in a consulting space. Also, on the lending side for commercial, we focus on small balance loan as low as $100,000 up to $2 million in credit restoration. And then those of you that are interested in getting into the flipping business, we are constantly looking for investors to help out. And again, 214-607-LOAN. Thank you.
And with that being said, we're going to give a shout out to our President Laura Washington and for helping us to have this platform. And once again, we'll see you guys the second Tuesday of the next month. We love you guys and we look forward to seeing you soon. Have an awesome day.
Bye-bye.